Good evening, everyone. I'd like to welcome you to the March 6th, 2025 City Council meeting. And I'd like to thank all of you for being patient and understanding that since our construction, our capacity in this room has been reduced by the fire chief. So I appreciate your understanding. And if people in here leave, we do have staff that will welcome people from the other room in to take an empty seat. So if someone's coming in and you've got an empty seat, would you just pay attention and let people sit down with you? Thank you. All right. Suze, would you please call the roll?
Yes, ma'am. Mayor Case,
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Nakai,
Here.
Councilmember Baldwin,
Here.
Councilmember Gear,
Here.
Councilmember Harvey,
Here.
Councilmember Jones,
Here.
Councilmember Smith.
Yep.
Would you please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance?
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I love hearing that.
Thanks, everybody. All right, that takes us to item 3. We have item A under item 3, consideration of an application to the Board of Adjustment, and I will turn to Suzanne.
Thank you, Mayor. This evening before council, there is an application for Board of Adjustment from Marshall, and I'm not going to butcher their name. I'm going to allow them to tell you how to say their last name.
Sounds good.
I don't know Marshall, so if Marshall's in the audience, there he is. Okay, so Marshall's here with us this evening. He's applying to the Board of Adjustment. There are currently 2 vacant positions for alternates on the Board of Adjustment. The terms for these positions would expire January 1st, 2028. And again, it's for an alternate position, and he's available here to answer any questions council may have.
Thank you. Would you please give us how you say your name?
It's
Correct.
Calumet,
Thank you. And the city you reside in.
Woodland Park.
Thank you. Go ahead. If you just tell us a little bit about yourself,
Yeah, sure.
then the council will probably have questions for you.
Yeah, absolutely. So currently I'm an HR generalist for American Furniture Warehouse. I cover 10 stores there with about 2,000 employees. I also enjoy coaching baseball. I do that. I coached 4 teams last year, so I like to volunteer and I'd like to add to my already busy schedule because why not?
Excellent. Thank you. Council, do you have any questions?
I do. Sir, how long have you been in Woodland Park?
About 4 years.
And what brought you here?
My family retired here and I followed them here and it's free babysitting, so.
That works. I know a young lady that's going to college and she's going far enough away that she doesn't have to get called home to babysit. So.
Anyone else? have questions?
I just had a quick question. Do you know what the function of the Board of Adjustment is?
Yeah, so to kind of look at setbacks and when you're building, or if somebody wants to put, like say that they want to put up a new shed on their land, and we have to look at the laws and see, how far back what the footage would be, and if it applies to, if it's something they're able to do.
Thank you. Anyone else? Carol?
Yeah, just one question. Have you been able to attend any of the board meetings?
I have not.
Carol, I will say they haven't had a lot to attend, so it's.
Anyone else have questions? All right. Thank you.
You're welcome.
I would look for a motion to approve him.
Well, I'll make that motion to approve the appointment, but again, I can't pronounce your last. I'll second.
All right. We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion, council? Thank you, Suzanne.
Thank you. Case,
Yes.
Nakai,
Yes.
Baldwin.
Yes.
Gear,
Yes.
Harvey,
Yes.
Jones,
Yes.
Smith.
Yes.
Thank you. Motion carries unanimously.
Thank you, sir, for your volunteering.
Mayor,
Look-
I'm prepared to administer his oath of office this evening.
Please.
Thank you. Okay, we'll have you come up front here.
Okay.
Al, know you were wet.
Where you at? What's the
Okay.
easiest way I can?
Okay, if you raise your right hand and repeat after me, I, Marshall
How you wet?
West, do solemnly swear
Do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
and the state of Colorado,
and the state of Colorado,
the charter and ordinances
the charter and ordinances
of the city of Woodland Park,
of the city of Woodland Park,
and that I will faithfully perform
and I will faithfully perform
the duties of Board of Adjustment
the duties of Board of Adjustment
for the city of Woodland Park,
for the city of Woodland Park,
upon which I'm about to enter.
upon which I'm about to enter.
Thank you and congratulations.
Thank you.
I'll have to sign this. They're not all here for you, trust me. They're here for Kip. Thank you, Marcia. Karen will be in touch with you,
Okay,
the
thank you.
planning director.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, sir. That takes us to item 3B, presentation of the lead service line inventory and report by our Utilities Director, Kip Wiley. Welcome.
Thank you. Good evening, everybody. Like Suzanne said, they're all here to see my presentation tonight, so very, very honored. So tonight, just wanted to take the opportunity to provide some clarification, maybe some additional information in regards to the public notice that went out in regards to lead service line inventory. We've got numerous calls. Probably around 10% of our population is called, and there's a lot of confusion when it just comes to the lead. So hopefully we'll clear that. We'll clear the water tonight, if that makes sense. Okay. So a quick agenda, just a quick presentation. We're going to go through these bullet points, basically. Hopefully this makes sense to everyone and it's logical. Talking about the service line inventory report, that reporting structure that the state has for this report, moving on from the exact violation that was issued to yes, our water is safe to drink. I'll say that many times tonight. It is safe. Please don't worry about the water. We're talking about the material of a water service line. We're going to define that, like I just said, and then what we're doing moving forward. And then just to recap, like I said, our water is safe. So first, we're going to start with what exactly is a service line inventory report. That's one of the biggest questions we're getting. Basically, the state said we need to provide a report of every single customer and what the service line from the main to their home is, okay, what that material is. And basically we can do that categorizing that material based on the time it was installed, going back to our engineering specs. So details about the reporting requirement, this goes back to 2001. The EPA published what was called the LCRR, the lead and copper rule revision. That specified the October 16, 2024 deadline to submit this inventory. However, they came out with some additional or clarifying requirements, what's called the lead copper rule improvement, excuse me. Basically that extended those requirements for those improvements to November of 27. So on October 16th, 2024, water systems were required to submit this lead service line inventory, this initial inventory. Okay. Basically after that, it also had a requirement that those water systems were to notify any customer that had an unknown service line or a lead service line. Okay. For the city of Woodland Park, a lot of our construction actually happened after 1981 that we could verify a lot of those service lines were not lead. So that portion was easy. It was everybody that was built before 1981. Okay, and part of that same requirement is the state could issue a tier 1 public notification level if there was an exceedance of 15 parts per billion of lead in the water. And I'm gonna go through the tiered system so everyone's kind of clear on what a tier 1 violation really means. So the state has a 3-tier notification system, tier 1 being the highest level. All right, that requires us to notify customers within 24 hours of any serious adverse health effect that can occur within hours or days after consumption. Obviously, that doesn't apply to us in this regard. We were issued a level 2, which requires the violation or stipulation of serious concern. So those service lines, the line from the home to the water main, the material was unknown. So it's unknown what kind of serious health condition it could potentially be there. All right. Our water is safe. It doesn't have lead in it, but the material, if it is lead, the lead can leach into the water. Okay. And then there is a tier 3 violation that basically is a non-serious, not directly impact human health. And these kind of violations are, for example, failure to report a result. You might have the result in your hand, but you haven't submitted it, and it complies with all the state standards, but if you didn't submit it to the state, they don't know about it, they issue what's called a tier 3 violation. I know, clear as water, right? Okay, moving on. City worked with the state health department, and actually submitted numerous service line inventories. We did submit before the deadline, and the inventory report was unsatisfactory with the final submittal. So we received the violation, a tier 2 violation, and hence why we're here today. A little frustrated with that, but we do take full responsibility for that. You know, the amount of information that was on there just wasn't adequate to their likings, so. Okay, another question we get is, did we receive any fines from this, for missing the deadline? No, we didn't receive any fines. I do like the fact that the public needs to know the most money we've spent is actually in the mailers to our citizens. So. Clicker, there it goes. Okay. Another question we're getting is, how did city council allow this to happen? Why didn't they inform the public? This is completely on city staff. 100%. There's no way around that. So city staff is aware of the rules and the regulations. We did our best to meet those, and we continue to do that. So I just wanted to make that clear, that city council was informed of it around just before the time the public was informed. And the reasoning for that was we're getting all the information collected at once so we could present the most clear message to everybody at the same time. Oh, I kind of answered this question already, but why didn't we tell the residents sooner? They're not at risk, and we told them before the deadline that we had to in the tier 2 public notice anyways. So it's kind of confusing. Why didn't we tell them sooner? We told them before we needed to, but we wanted a clear, concise message for that. And as clear as we wanted it, it's still a challenge to get that information out. So we mailed out public notices on February 19th, 2025. Some customers also received 2 letters because those customers with unknown service lines, they received the second letter stating we did not know the material of their service line. So the first letter was a public notice just saying failure to submit the water line inventory. And the second notice was unknown service line material. Okay, that was required tier 2 public notice in regards to a hand deliver or mailer. We did that. We've also had it on the city's website, which is not required. There's an article in the paper, which is not required. Social media, Kristen's done a great job with all the socials, and I'll add another one here tonight in front of everyone that came to see me. Oops. Sorry. One more time. Okay, well, I apologize. So again, the city's water is safe to drink. We regularly test for lead. Every 3 years, it's required by the state to test for lead. It's tested at designated homes that the state picks that are in those parameters of potential sites, okay? We last tested in July of 24. Happy to say no lead in our water. Again, it is safe to drink. We've talked about this a little bit, what are service lines, what responsibilities do homeowners have? So the service line is actually shared ownership between the city and the property owner. The city owns from the main to the point of shutoff or the property shutoff, which is at the property line or the right of way. And then the homeowner owns it from that same point, that property shutoff or point of shutoff into their home. So there's a shared ownership with every single service line. Okay, going back to the date I mentioned earlier, beginning in 1981, the city's engineering specs required all service lines to be copper or plastic PVC. Okay, so very simple in our accounting for that is every home that was built after 1981, we know is good. We've inspected it. Any home built before that, if we haven't replaced the meter and documented what the service line was, if we haven't done an inspection on it, when they've done any repair, we need to get into those homes and do a quick inspection of what that line is as it enters the home. That's the easiest way to do it. Typically in a utility room where the meter's set, some of the older homes, we can go into meter pits and look there as well, or in crawl spaces of those homes. How do I determine if my service line is made of lead? There's 3 different ways to do this. There's a visual test, there's actually a scratch test, and there's actually a magnetic test. You can use a magnet on a line. Obviously, a magnet won't stick to copper or plastic, but it will stick to galvanize. The toughest thing to know here is galvanized lines and lead lines. They're really hard to tell the difference, and that magnet will help you with that, or the scratch test as well. But so that's how we do those. I'll say those inspections. I talked about this. Why did some citizens receive 2 letters? Like I said, everybody received the failure to submit the service line inventory report. And then those homes that we don't know what the service lines are, they received the second letter. Moving forward, I'm happy to report the service line inventory has been submitted and accepted. To my knowledge, I've got confirmation of the submittal, just waiting to hear if it's good, like we did October 16, 2024. But pretty confident that this submittal they will accept. As we mentioned, the 2 public notices went out. With any public notice, we actually have to do what's called a certificate of delivery or a COD. So we send the state the actual notice that went out. They kind of mandate what those notices look like. We don't have a lot of say in those notices. So I do want our customers to know that that is pretty much boilerplated public notices. And they do their best to get most of the information out. We're still, like I said, from the beginning, most of our calls are, do I have lead in my water? Well, the answer is no. This is about your material of your service line. So we're continuing to contact customers with unknown materials. This will continue until we know exactly what every single customer's line is. So we will be sending out notices once a year until this is completed. We're setting up those inspections. Like I said, staff will be pretty busy. We haven't started that as of today. We have a couple other priorities that are in front of this, but as like I said, we change out meters. And we're in the area, we're going to do our best to clarify, or I'll say determine those unknowns. We continue to update the inventory. As we get these calls in, a lot of homeowners know what their lines are made of. So we can literally take their word for it and put that in the spreadsheet. So that's being updated daily with calls as well. And then we're going to continue to meet the LCR requirements and continue to test for lead at those designated locations. So like I said, in summary, we're going to go through this a bunch. Our water is safe. I promise you, it is safe to drink. 2 public notices were sent out, setting up inspections. We're continuing to do the notification process. So customers will still receive letters once a year, again, if they have an unknown service line. And then, as I said, update service line inventory regularly. We don't want to go through this again. I promise you that. Any questions, council?
Yeah,
Thanks, Kip.
sorry.
Go ahead, Jeff.
Roughly how many unknowns do we still have?
I would venture to guess about 900 to 1,000.
Okay.
And Kip, how many customers do we have?
right around 4,000.
Thank you. Anyone else have questions, Carol?
Kip, I understand that the city attempted to file the inventory several times. Could you explain that process and the problems that you had with it?
There's more with this, the spreadsheet. It's a pretty massive spreadsheet, and as you enter in information in that spreadsheet, the state has specific columns that kind of self-calculate with the information you put in. There's actually a math problem on the spreadsheet with knowns and unknowns and like known replacements, and that math problem was our biggest holdup. Just the terminology of what it was actually counting. There was also a column on that spreadsheet that wanted an identifier of a connector. So a connector is basically back in the day at the main, they would put in basically a gooseneck of a pipe material and then connect sometimes a different material, the same material into the house. They wanted that information, but it said future requirement. Well, we didn't fill it out because it said future requirement. So we just started filling that out. I don't know if that was the problem, but that was just a challenge that we think that was part of it. And then when we first submitted it, we sent in our engineering specifications that said any house built after 1981, we know it's plastic or copper. So we didn't put all those homes in the spreadsheet. I'm like, why put them in there? We already know what they are. So let's focus on what we don't know. Well, they didn't like that either. So this is a combination of things over the last 6-8 months.
And then if service lines are determined to have lead, whose responsibility is it to repair it? And if it's the homeowners, will the city have any way to assist those homeowners?
To be determined yet. If we're out there replacing service lines, obviously our costs are gonna go through the roof. And we'll be back to city council asking for supplementals and so on and so forth. So to be determined at this point. I'm happy to report, Larry Waters, our chief water operator, has been here for 40 years. He's seen one service line connector that was lead that wasn't even in service over all that time. So I'm fairly confident there's not too many lead lines out there. If they are, they're not in service.
Thanks, Kip.
Council, any other questions? All right, thank you. Kip, would you all, I've talked to staff, but I'd also ask that you post this presentation on our social sites, on our website, and even on our YouTube, so people, or they won't do YouTube, never mind. This is not a video. Anyway, so people can see this and refer to it.
Okay.
Thank you.
No, thank you, council. I do apologize for all the mishap. We're doing our best. I promise you to remedy this, and it's been a challenge, but I do apologize.
Thank you. All right, that takes us to item 4, additions, deletions, or corrections to the agenda. Do you have anything, Suze?
No, ma'am.
Thank you. Item 5 is the consent calendar. We have 2 sets of minutes, council, the one of the February 20th, 2025 regular meeting and the February 26th, 2025 special meeting minutes. I would look for a motion for the consent calendar unless you have questions on the minutes.
I'll make a motion to approve the consent calendar as is.
Thank you. We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion, council? All right, Suzanne.
Nakai,
Yes.
Baldwin.
Yes.
Gear,
Yes.
Harvey.
Yes.
Jones.
Yes.
Smith.
Yep.
Case.
Yes,
Thank you. Motion carries unanimously.
thank you. All right, that takes us to item 6, public comment. I'd just like to bring to your attention, this is public comment on anything that is not an item on our agenda. So with that, is there anyone asking to speak?
There is, ma'am. And
Thank you.
I've done my best, I will say to the audience, because some of you are signed up to speak on items not on the agenda and then public hearings. So I've tried to sort it. Forgive me if I've made a mistake, just raise your hand if I didn't catch you. But we're starting with, and I hope I pronounced this correct, Brian Bose?
Sales tax.
Okay, I'll move you to there. Carl Anderson.
Yeah.
Come on up, Carl.
Carl, if you'd give us your full name and your city of residence, please.
Carl Edward Anderson. I live in Divide, Colorado.
Thank you.
So I'd like to be the highlight of the evening tonight, and it's actually not me, but a young lady that has come from this community. City of Woodland Park had on their website this amazing young lady. I understand she's now Colonel Nicole Aries. Okay, I'd like to read a little bit about her first. So she's in her early 30s. She's a U.S. Air Force graduate. She's a native of Colorado, graduated the academy in 2011 with a bachelor's degree in mathematics with a minor in Russian. She later earned a master's degree in computational and applied mathematics from Rice University. We need her back. Um, Colonel Aries is an experienced combat aviator with more than 200 combat hours, more than 1,150 hours of flight time in a T-38 and an F-22 Raptor fighter jet, one of the few women currently flying the F-22. In 2019, Aries led the first ever all-woman formation of aircraft into combat. I bring this to you tonight because shortly, she'll be leaving us and headed to the International Space Station and representing this great nation, the United States of America. And this lady is a graduate of Woodland Park. She lived in Divide, the center of the known universe. And Coach Smith, I learned, actually coached her when she was here in high school in volleyball, I believe it was.
When she was younger.
We were all younger, Coach.
But, you know, through Park and Rec, and then when she got to high school, you know, she was a high school volleyball standout. And that's where she went from there to the Air Force Academy and played volleyball for them. Okay.
Awesome.
And also, you know, I know her personally, and,
Yep.
you know, for me, it gets emotional because the many times that she was at our house for volleyball dinners, and, you know, she played with my daughter also.
So I believe I read that she beat out 12,000 other applicants to make this flight and commitment.
Awesome.
And it's quite an accomplishment. And the reason I really bring it to you guys tonight is to highlight, we have so many great young people that have gone through our school district, our area, and we need to be proud. I mean, this young lady is just doing amazing things. You know, and there's so many of our children that have done amazing things also. I mean, my own son went into the Marine Corps, fought in Afghanistan for our nation. One of the gentlemen that works in my office also was in the Army, went to Afghanistan and fought for our nation. And there's countless stories like this around the community. So I'd just like to say, you know, we have an awesome place. And I think tonight, if I had any request from everybody here, is that we talk with respect to each other, as if we were talking to this young lady as the last person before she jumped on that ship. Think of that. And with that, I would like to ask, could we all stand and give a moment of silence for her and her safe return back to our nation? Thank you. And with that, a round of applause for this amazing young lady. Mayor Case, I'd like to give you this photo, and I'd like you to think of this. When the chips are down and you think there's no hope for humanity left, remember the great ones. And she is.
Mayor Case, if I may.
Yes,
We have a sign coming into town about astronaut, you know, Bob Stewart.
Mhm.
I think at some point that it would be highly appropriate to have Nicole's name up there also.
I wholeheartedly agree, and Council Carvey also and I spoke about this. And when the time's right and you guys have start looking at this, I'd be happy to participate. And if I could be a co-sponsor on that sign, I'd be happy to do it.
Thank you.
I have that in
Thank
the
you.
minutes, Carl.
Yes, ma'am. I know you will.
Carl, I think our staff has taken note of that, and I thank you for your presentation this evening, and I hope everyone didn't mind him going over a little longer for this celebration for this young lady. So, thank you. Yeah, thank you.
So the next speaker is Nate Williams. I have you for 2 items. You're gonna wait. Well, you can speak on something not on the agenda and then the ordinance later. Okay? Okay, and then we have Nicole Wagner.
Is
Okay,
she in the,
Nicole
here she
can-
comes. I see her in the other room. We are. Nicole, this is for items not on the agenda. Yes, thank you. You just give us your full name and your city of residence, please.
Good evening, Nicole Wagoner, Woodland Park.
Thank you.
Madam Mayor, council members, good evening. I would like to read a section of the city charter. Section 3.14A, purpose and intent. 1, the city shall conduct its businesses, operations, and services in accordance with the law and the highest standards of business practices and ethics. The city is committed to complete honesty, utmost integrity, fair dealing, and ethical behavior as the basis of its businesses, operations, and services to the community. It is the intent of the city and its officers and employees adhere to the highest levels of ethical conduct so that the public will have the confidence that persons who are in positions of public responsibility act for the benefit of the public. Officers and employees should comply with the letter and spirit of this section, as well as strive to avoid situations which may create impropriety or the appearance of impropriety. Number 3, it is the intent of the city to establish and enforce a policy which ensures that its officers and employees are independent, impartial, and responsible to the citizens they serve and represent. At your meeting on February 20th, your actions and the line of questioning of a few of you toward Mr. Jason Ledley, who was applying for the vacancy on the DDA, violated the city charter and the requirement and expectation that you maintain integrity and operate with ethical behavior. Accusing him of threatening this council and scolding him for triggering a trauma response due to one word, liars, which he uttered, was unacceptable of the elected leaders of our community. I was at that meeting, and there was not a person present who was not emotionally charged by the sales tax issue and discussion that night. After this council did in fact lie and vote to move forward with the vote on the ballot, many of us, myself included, had overly emotional reactions beyond the normal states of our composure. Mayor Case did the right thing by taking a 10-minute recess to allow everyone to cool off. I myself spoke with Mayor Case the next day and apologized for my behavior, as I believed an apology was necessary. We are all people, yourselves included, and we all have momentary lapses in composure. But for you to question the character of a man who you do not know, who volunteers his life away for the betterment of others because he called out one factual word in a highly emotionally charged setting, says more about your character than his. I believe, like so many other issues, that this council did what they did and said what they said because of Mr. Ledley's affiliation with other entities in the community, not because of his qualifications for the seat on the DDA. You have violated your own charter in more than one way and shown your true characters. This council should be embarrassed and ashamed of their behavior and offer Mr. Ledley an official apology. Thank you.
Thank you, Nicole. Anyone else we have, Suze?
Tony Perry?
All right. Would you
Is
ask
Perry in?
Tony to come in, please? There he is. He's coming.
Okay.
Welcome, Tony. If you just give us your full name and city of residence, please.
Tony Perry with the city of Woodland Park.
Thank you.
So a little bit out of order probably, but I want to say that starting with Mayor Kinney in 1969, Jim Schultz, and now Kip Wiley, we are very blessed in this community to have such amazing water management, and you have no idea. And that spreadsheet he talks about, I've seen it. It's the most complicated thing in the world. So, made a mistake, they owned up to it, so let's accept that. And if you do some homework, you're gonna find it's pretty amazing that we're pretty well represented. So, leadership, do the right things for the right reasons, whether simple or hard. Yesterday, I had a little bit of time to go up to Cripple Creek and sit in on the STR case. The judge will make his decision soon. I will not opine my position as it is irrelevant. However, I do have some thoughts on how we got here. Planning Commission, in my opinion, came up with a fair plan that effectively would stop new STRs moving forward, while allowing the roughly 180 existing STRs to be grandfathered. Ordinances would apply, and if an STR was deemed problematic, it would lose the license. And I don't think it's this current constituted council, but the council did not provide leadership, period. So what happened is primarily 2 citizens started a petition to force a special election, costing the city of Woodland Park, us, approximately $30,000. They could have waited until the next scheduled election to do that. It was a simple 2-question ballot that, in my opinion, was the worst ballot I've ever seen. And if anyone disagrees with that, I'd love to have a conversation with you. The side that wanted to eliminate the STRs won the ballot question. They won the election. My analysis of the results seems to indicate that most of us were confused and unclear about the questions and the pros and cons. It was done so quickly, so poorly, that I think it just happened. So a group of the STR owners felt wronged and harmed by the process and felt that the ordinance was written is illegal, which is why they brought the case that we're dealing with today. And I say we, it's every citizen in this scenario has been harmed, in my opinion. And so my final statement is a lack of leadership and a lack of doing the right thing for the right reasons led us here. So let's not repeat that.
Thank you.
And then I have a Deb Zach, and she's signed up for both items, I think. I don't know Deb. Deb Zach?
Is Deb Zach in the other room?
Okay, if she shows up, we'll get her later. That's it. That concludes public comments.
Thank
On
you.
items
Any-
not on the agenda.
Thank you very much. Anyone else in the audience that wishes to address items not on the agenda? Seeing no one, I will move on. Thank you. Item 7 is unfinished business. We have none. 8 is ordinances on initial posting, and we have none of those either. Item 9A is approval of ordinance number 1489, series 2025, an ordinance of the City Council of Woodland Park adjusting expenditure appropriations to the various funds for the City of Woodland Park, Colorado for the 2024 budget year, and amending ordinance number 1466, series 2023. Aaron. We're gonna have to replace that.
Sweet. There we go. Is that better? Okay. All right, tonight I have for you 2 ordinances for supplemental appropriations. The first one I have is ordinance 1489, series 2025, and this is to amend the 2024 budget expenditure appropriations. This ordinance funds to cover the Avenger open space land acquisition that shall be reimbursed through the 2024 GOCO grant. This process has taken significantly longer than we ever expected. And so when we do get the reimbursement from GOCO, we will put this money back into the general fund. But what we're asking here is to properly classify the expenditure that's already taken place and put that as an expenditure of the general fund in 2024. We are making a lot of progress with the Forest Service. We are in a short form NEPA application right now, and we still have to make sure there's no endangered animals on the site, and then we should hopefully be able to get our reimbursement. So that's it for this one. Any questions on here on that piece? And
Call the
then
question.
I did just want to go through the fund balance real quick here. Whoops.
Okay.
All right, so our original 2024 budget had revenue over expenditure of 324,000 with an ending fund balance of $5,612,037. After this $523,250 additional expenditure, it would leave us with a fund balance of $5,088,787. And that leaves us with an unrestricted, undesignated fund balance of $5,442,662. Any questions?
Council, questions? All right. Thank you. I would be looking, wait a minute. Public comment?
There's no one signed up.
Thank you. I opened the public comment for this item and now closing it as there's no one to address the council. I see no one's raising their hand either. Council, I would be looking for a motion.
I make a motion for the approval of ordinance number 1489, series 2025 as written.
One second.
Thank you. We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Suzanne?
Baldwin,
Yes.
Gear,
Yes.
Harvey,
Yes.
Jones,
Yes.
Smith,
Yep.
Case,
Yes.
Nakai.
Yes.
Thanks, motion carried unanimously.
And item B is the ordinance 1490, series 2025, an ordinance of the City Council of Woodland Park adjusting expenditure appropriations to the various funds for the City of Woodland Park, Colorado for the 2024 budget year and amending ordinance 1486, series 2024. Aaron?
Thank you. This is ordinance 1490, series 2025 to amend the 2025 budget expenditure appropriations. This one is for the DDA. This is not from the general fund. And this is an exciting one. So the DDA wishes to grant micro grants to the local businesses within our community in the downtown. So at the DDA meeting on February 4th, 2025, the DDA approved up to 30 grants up to $5,000 each for a total of $150,000 for the purpose of improving the beautification and viability of local businesses. And the DDA wishes to disperse these funds to local businesses following the grant application reviews at the May 2025 meeting. And as far as the budget goes for the DDA, we originally had revenues over expenditures for the 2025 budget of $361,518, leaving an ending fund balance of $1,715,253. After this $150,000 appropriation, the ending fund balance would be $1,565,253. Any questions, council?
Council? All right. Thank you, Aaron. I'll open the public comment portion of this public hearing. If there's anyone in the audience or online that would like to address the council. Seeing no one, I'll close the public comment portion of this public hearing and look to the council for a motion.
I'll move that we approve ordinance number 1490, series 2025. An ordinance of the City Council of Woodland Park adjusting expenditure appropriations to the various funds of the City of Woodland Park, Colorado for the 2024 budget year, amending ordinance number 1486, series 2024A.
I'll second it.
Thank you. We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Suzanne?
Gear,
Yes.
Harvey,
Yes.
Jones.
Yes.
Smith,
Yep.
Case,
Yes.
Nakai,
Yes.
Baldwin, thank you.
Yes.
Thank you.
You're
Motion
welcome.
carries unanimously.
Thank you, council, very much.
Thank you. That takes us to item 9C, approval of ordinance number 1492, series 2025, an ordinance of the City Council of the Woodland Park, Colorado, repealing the sales tax by 1.09%. All right, council, I'd like to open discussion this evening with you all on this before we open the public hearing. And I've been asked to start, we once started at the other end. We're going to start at the other end again tonight, just to break it up. So
Okay.
Steve, you're first.
Well, I just want to start off with something that I've gone through the past couple of weeks. And a lot of you that don't know who I am, okay? The majority of our city knows me as Coach or Smitty or Coach Smitty. They don't know me by Steve Smith. Okay? I am a very, very long contributor to the kids and teachers in our community. So with that, I had to write it down because I didn't want to get off track. So I have spent the last few weeks reflecting on the issues before us and the implications of our actions or lack of action. When I set out to run for city council, my intention was to listen to our community and do what is best for the people I call friends and neighbors. This includes our teachers and our students in every school within this community. I've been living and working and contributing in this town of ours for over 30 years. I don't know how many of you can actually say that you've worked with our kids for over 30 years, and I continue to do it. So I know that when I am looking at an issue, I have the historical content. I know that I am an experienced person to speak on issues that come up. So know that when I am making a decision, I am coming from a place of love for our community and the voices that I hear. With that said, I have heard from so many of you on this school tax issue. You all know my past, coaching for the schools, working as coach, supporters of countless kids over the years. Knowing that is my passion. It should not be a surprise to anyone that this issue hits close to home for me. It's very emotional, yes, but it's emotional for our kids in our community. I want to make the right decision here and want our schools, all the schools, to thrive. And I want our kids to thrive even more. So I intend to listen closely to all of you here tonight to speak, because I can see many of you here share my passion and want the best for our kids and our community. So when people accuse me of not wanting the best for our kids, you do not know who I am. Thank you, Mayor.
Welcome. Thank you, Steve. George.
Yeah, I would just state, I'll just be brief about it and just say, I am not in favor of this motion going forward. I haven't been. I really think that this needs to go away.
Thank you. Carol?
I'm gonna echo what Councilman Jones just said, and I also want to commend Councilman Smith, because I do know he cares about the kids, and any accusation from anyone, any individual or any group that would question his care for the students in our community and the families in our community is wrong. And I have the same feeling. I'm a mom, a grandmom, and a great grandmom. My children aren't in this school district any longer. They're in North Carolina, but my concern has been for almost 18 months that the sales tax itself may have been misappropriated, and the only way we would have known that is if we had accurate reporting. Through a good faith effort between myself and Mayor Case and the city attorney and the city manager, we met with representatives from the school district, and I thought we had worked out a very fair and very detailed method in which to make that accounting process easier for the school district, not to punish the school district, but to give them the guidance that the city council had not given them over the last however many years this has been in place, which is all the way back to 2016. And I was here in 2016, and I understand what the impetus was for that vote. Our school district was woefully behind financially of other school districts. We were punished terribly by something called the budget stabilization factor, which basically put us behind other school districts, even in other rural communities. Our teachers, by a very detailed salary survey, it was obvious that they were paid less than any of the other teachers in the Front Range, if not the whole state. So that sales tax was passed for a reason. Over time, those types of taxes sometimes lose the background of why they occurred. And I think that happened in the case of this particular sales tax. On January 31st of this year, the school district did comply with the IGA requirements of a more detailed reporting protocol, but it still failed to meet the most specific instruction of that IGA and addendum. And for those of you, IGA is intergovernmental agreement, but that IGA specified that the sales tax be segregated into a grant fund. Someone in an email this week accused me of being too stupid to know what a grant fund was. And my favorite modern day philosopher is Forrest Gump, and stupid is as stupid does. I actually have managed grant funds, and I know that the intent is to segregate a revenue source from an unassigned general fund. We still need to be able to accomplish that with this particular tax. And I think we can reach that, that definition of how to manage a grant fund as going forward. So I've had enough input over the last 2 weeks to know that those individuals, parents, teachers, just citizens throughout the school district, not only here in Woodland Park, would like to maintain the tax as is, but still just as many have asked that we make sure that there is a clear and concise way of accounting for the use of those tax dollars. For that reason, for the rest, I know we have a lot of folks here that want to talk to one side or the other, but I'm going to tell you right now, I'm ready to vote this particular ordinance down or postpone it indefinitely.
Thank you, Carol. Jeff?
So this one's been certainly a challenge. This whole exercise has been a challenge, and a lot of accusations have been made regarding many of us sitting up here, what ulterior motives or underlying, whatever you want to call it, so we supposedly have. I take my responsibility to make sure that the tax money that we collect as a city, regardless of what tax we're collecting, is spent in the way that it was supposed to be spent in accordance with what the voters voted for when they approved the tax. And that's not just the school tax, that goes for everything. And, we've certainly had some challenges with the district getting that accurate reporting. Technically, as Councilmember Harvey pointed out, the reporting that we have that's at least through December 31st, 2024, did meet the technicalities of the IGA. However, we still have challenges around the spirit of grant accounting and exactly what it is we were looking for. That being said, I think it's important for everyone to understand that no one up here or in the community, regardless of what side you might find yourself on this issue, is attempting to harm anyone. This accusation against us about being vindictive or being unfair or whatever it is that's been levied in our direction, quite frankly, is just ridiculous. If the district would have complied originally with what we were originally looking for, we wouldn't be here today. That being said, I want to thank everyone for reaching out to us, whether it's emails that we've gotten. I know I've gotten plenty, phone calls, text messages. One of the things I want to stress to everyone is no matter the issue, how big or how small it might be, our job is also to listen to everyone in the community and what they feel is the best course of action. As it pertains to me and my opinion on ordinance 1492, series 2025 is currently written, because the district has made an attempt to comply and made an attempt to get us the information that we've asked for. I am not currently in favor of passing the ordinance as written. And so, before I hand this off to Councilmember Baldwin, I just want to say, public education is arguably, there are many great things about the United States of America, but our public education system is right up there with some of the best that you could ask for. And no one sitting up here wants to harm that in any way, shape, or form. So, I want to thank everyone for all of your comments. I'm looking forward to public comment. I'm sure many of you have many other things you'd like to say. But again, I am not in support of 1492 as currently written, and will be voting to table it indefinitely or kill it, depending on whatever the motion ends up being. And at that point, Councilmember Baldwin.
Thank you, Jeff.
So I wanted to start out agreeing, first of all, with Mr. Perry that he was referring to the STR problems that we're having now. This issue also did not start with this council. The agreement was signed in 2016, and during 2020, when we had COVID, there was no review, and not again in 21, and not again in 22, and not until 23. So this again is started with councils before us. I want to tell you that I was, when I pushed and pushed and pushed to get the issue on the ballot, it was because that was what I was getting from the majority of people that contacted me and that I was visiting with. And my own consolation, because it was a difficult decision, because well, first of all, I went to a private high school, but I have worked in public education. So I believe very strongly in strong school districts and strong teachers and strong instruction, et cetera. So my consolation to myself, or the way I consoled myself, was, well, if the tax remains in place, which it did, we still have the IGA that will have to be followed. So waiting for the first report, I was very hopeful. I thought, okay, this is going to be it. And it wasn't it. The 100+ pages that were given 13 days after the deadline were still not transparent or accurate. They also indicated that money was spent on things that were not authorized by the original ordinance in 2016. Many of you on both sides expressed your understanding of the frustration that we were all feeling. And I really, really appreciated that. Just for some empathy, to understand that it was frustrating. We were hopeful. But even those that pushed to have this tax issue put on the ballot now do not want it taken away. My analogy to myself is, it's like having an investment broker and you give him $3 million and then you don't get a statement letting you know how your money's doing, and you have no idea, and your broker can't tell you where the money went. It just doesn't seem right to me, and it still doesn't seem right to me. But I'm going to let it go. Acknowledging fully that there's still shenanigans going on, and I hope that we can work together and get it straightened out so that the whole community can understand where the money's going. It's a lot of doggone money, and it could go a long way to help all of the kids in the district. I have my clown nose here because I feel like these first few months of being on council has felt like, especially around this issue, like a clown show. Like we're in a clown car. First we're doing it, then we're not doing it, then we're thinking about it again, and then we're talking about it again, and I'm done. It's been embarrassing for me personally. And that's all I want to say. I'm not gonna vote yes for this ordinance as it's written, 1492. So just wanted to let everybody know that.
Thank you, Terry.
Thank you.
Catherine?
Okay, so I pretty much echo everybody's comments, but I have a few of my own. So, I just wanted to explain, on first reading, I voted to send ordinance 1492 to a public hearing in order to continue to hear from the public on this challenging issue. This has always been my approach, and it has been from day one on council, which is to, to respect everybody's views and to continue to hear everybody until the end. I don't make my decision lightly. I don't take the decision lightly. I make it after hearing everybody's public comments, which was why I put this on the ballot, or this is why I put this on the agenda this evening. I had a whole lot more to say, but a lot of it got said, so I will just say I am not in favor of this ordinance as well.
Thank you, Catherine. And thank you, council. I just want to share something, just far as from what I hear from you all. I did read up on our Bob's Rules of Order that we adopted, which is so much easier to read and find things in than the Robert's Rules of Order, which are in very tiny print in a huge book. So I did find that if hearing what you're saying, I looked at the options for motions this evening regarding this ordinance, and hearing what you're saying, I would like to just share with you and the public what it means. To postpone this ordinance indefinitely would be the proper motion from what I hear. And what that means is a body may need to remove an item from the agenda or cease consideration of an open agenda item with the understanding that the item will not be returned or reintroduced to the body in the future. So effectively, as we all have kindly referred to it, it kills the ordinance. So if that's the direction the council would like to make, and I just want to make a comment myself, I hear what I've been trying to share with the folks, that I come from a place of working together and collaborating to get things right and to make it right. And I commit to that. And I know that our staff commits to that as well, and they have been. And so that's where I'd like to see us go. And I hear that coming from you all as well. So with that, I would like to, if you have nothing else to say, I will open the public comment portion of this public hearing. Yes.
I just have one more comment that I
Yes,
forgot,
please.
and that is, I'm not like checking out of this issue. I think that we can all do a good job of monitoring and coaching to get it, so we can get it right. We gotta get it right because the community is demanding transparency. Okay, that's it.
Thank you, Terry. So with that, I will open the public comment portion of this public hearing. And I'd just like to say that with this public hearing, this topic is the only topic that will be discussed. I would ask for polite, respectful comment to the council and to the public. And I'm going to be because we've got lots of folks here, I'm going to be very diligent on the 3-minute time limit. It's 7:30, so I will start with Suze calling the first
Sure, Mayor.
person. Thank you.
What we've done in the past, and I'd like to follow the same process this evening, is call the first speaker, call the second speaker, so the second speaker is standing by and we can move this faster. So the first speaker this evening is Coulter Montgomery with Diane Reed on deck, is what we say here. So Diane will make her way down and be ready to speak.
Thank you. And when you approach the podium, would you please give us your full name and your city of residence, each of you, please?
Suzanne, how many people do we have?
And if the chief hasn't given me any more, I have 31 speakers.
Okay, thank you.
So with that, since we have more information, I would ask you, please, if someone has made a point that you had intended to make, the council hears it and we take it seriously, we would ask that would not be repetitive. You can acknowledge that someone has already spoken the words that you intended to share with us, but we would ask, just out of respect of everyone's time in the room, if the point's been made, then I would ask that it not be made again. Just out of respect for everyone's time. Thank you. Come ahead to the podium.
Colton Montgomery, live in Woodland Park, Colorado. So I'm obviously going to be adjusting some of the things I'm going to say based off of what I've been hearing. But still, I'm going to state that first and foremost, I'm a parent of 3 daughters in the district. And I do not want to see 1492 as written pass for obvious reasons, but I'm going to return to my kids in a second. To me, this has never felt like a proportional response to arguably some valid criticisms of the district. I support the Board of Education as they are right now. I support the district, but I'm not dogmatic about that. I think there is some validity to that, but 1492 was not proportional in response in any way, in my opinion, based off what we've been seeing in the community. What do I mean by that? I've been working in my career long enough to have gone through some budget shortfalls, operational shortfalls, cash flow shortfalls, earning shortfalls. And what we were looking at having 1492 removed from a operation that's at the scale of the school district is monumental. If you have a 2-3% shortfall of your budget, of your income, whatever it might be, leadership in that organization is going to start responding just within a couple of percentage points. They're going to maybe slow down hiring, maybe freeze hiring. They'll some discretionary projects, some low priority projects, they may get paused. 3, 4, 5%, everything that I just mentioned increases in severity, and layoffs come into the picture because they're starting to see what problems they're going to have. And you're looking at maybe 6 months to a year of that action taking place. If you get into the high single digits, 6, 7, 8%, layoffs are happening. It's just a matter of how much, and people are losing their jobs. Once you hit 10%, any organization, they're going to be panicking. They might not admit it, but they're going to be panicking. 1492, I'm paraphrasing because I don't know the exact numbers, but it was somewhere in the vicinity of mid-teens percentage, 15, 16, something like that. But even at 10, that is massive impact to an organization, and it's one that will last years. I'm going back to my kids. My oldest daughter starts high school next year, 4-year high school career. 1492 would have the potential to have lasting impacts through her entire high school career. You think I, as a parent, want to put up with that? No. Like I said, continue to work with the district. There's validity there. I'm fine with the transparency. The initial submission was ridiculous, but continue to work with them. Be proportional in your response. That's all I'll say.
Thank you, sir.
Next speaker is Diane Reed with Brian Bose on deck.
If you just share your full name and city of residence, please.
Okay, my name is Dr. Diane Reed, and I've lived in Woodland Park for over a decade and sent my children to Woodland Park schools. To get the political part out of the way, you should know that I come from a family that has voted Republican for over 100 years, and my brother was named after Ronald Reagan. I've never registered as a Democrat, and it's likely I never will. So imagine my surprise when I eventually became the PTO leader at Gateway Elementary, only to discover that all of the members of our PTO at that time were Republicans. They were either active duty military veterans, one woman was a combat helicopter pilot in Afghanistan, or they were business owners, including a retired CEO of a multinational corporation. He volunteered every single morning in his grandchild's classroom. One day, the very hands-on superintendent asked if he could visit our PTO meeting, and I was excited until I noticed that he brought his CFO with him. At that moment, I have to confess, I was a little bit worried that we might be in trouble for not clipping enough box tops. But that was not why they were there. The CFO promptly pulled down a large screen, opened his computer, and proceeded to project all of the district's financial data for us to review. We were allowed to ask any question we liked because the superintendent and CFO were actually enthusiastic to share what was happening in their district and where every penny was spent without any of us having to submit even a Cora request. They did this for every one of the district's PTO groups, and any parent could attend. I am here to tell you today that that level of fiscal transparency used to be normal in our school district. It had nothing to do with politics, public, or charter schools. It was about transparency and respect for taxpayers, parents, and the community at large. So what changed? The money grab. Our school district is currently under the grip of educational entrepreneurs, a very slick term for businessmen carpetbaggers who go from town to town, especially in sleepy, unsuspecting areas of Colorado. They have a long history of this, to fleece communities of their public school funds for their own profits, which is why they hide their financials. If you do not believe me, ask anyone in this room, in this town, this county, or state exactly how much money funnels to our school district lawyer. No one can tell you, nor will they be able to explain why the current superintendent's part-time salary rivals that of the superintendent in Telluride, where the median home price is $4.3 million. Woodland Park's median home price is only 13% of that figure. These are educational grifters who've swooped in to siphon public funds into their own pockets.
Diane,
And
I
this
need
has
you to
nothing
finish up,
to
please.
do with charter schools. My own children have attended charter schools in the past that were just as transparent as RE2 once was. For this reason, I implore you, City Council, to take serious measures to end the financial cloaking in our community for good. And I personally thank you for your outstanding courage, honor, and amazing integrity.
Thank you,
in this
Diane.
matter.
The next speaker is Brian Bose, and then is Zoe Colas on deck.
Brian, if you'll give your full name and city of residence.
Sure,
please.
Brian Bossy. Thank you, Mayor and Councilman. My name is Brian Bossy and I'm a resident of Teller County. My wife and I moved down here in July of 22. I was going to go into comparisons with the water issue and all this other stuff. I think I appreciated what you did with the council and the transparency, I think, with each of you in consideration. So most of this is not going to be read. What I did do is looking at the issue of, in fact, I looked at this before the election. How much does this really cost me? We moved from Washington. The amount of property tax we pay here with a bigger house is about 2.5 times less. It was equivalent to our health district in Washington. Colorado is 33rd in the country in terms of property taxes that go towards public schools. I went to one of these type of schools. I graduated from one. 2 levels of duct tape on 20-year-old books. Never grass in the middle of the field. Slivers in your rear end to do stuff. It was when the community took on the importance of a school with the community that things changed. They eventually passed the school levy. It had been over 20 years, like Teller County. They finally built a brand new high school. Within 5 years, they had a teacher that was #1 National Teacher of the Year. Rolling Stone had my city on their cover for drugs and other social ills. That's what I grew up with. And so as I was reading your profiles, I was confused. I mean, you talked about character, Councilmember Smith, and I agree with you. And I saw everything you've put into the school district. I go, why would you vote to cut funding? It's already underfunded. And, I think the biggest issue is leadership. That's a school board issue and a superintendent. I hear it all the time. That's in November. My wife is a teacher in this district. And she's got 2 master's degrees and 15 years teaching and tutoring, stuff like that. And she's very good at what she does. And to see the difference of what Washington pays is $26,000 more. And I think Woodland Park's in, 40th percentile? So I appreciate all your comments. I was going to read some. One, I think it was, Member Baldwin says, we can do this together. And that's what I'm hearing. The school, or the first house my wife and I bought, we moved to, I had to be in Miami. She called and she said, somebody brought over the rules of Bainbridge Island. I go, oh God, where'd we move? Talk to people in the grocery store lines. Don't build a fence. We're neighbors. If my kid runs in your yard, send him home. We're neighbors. And I know that elements of this was in each of your things. And so I was confused by this whole city tax issue. And I hope that you kill this issue. That's my request.
Thank you, Brian.
Thank you.
The next speaker is Zoe Cole with Donald Hoyne on deck.
Let's hope I can reach this mic. My name is Zoe Cole and I'm a Woodland Park. I live in Woodland Park. Thank you so much. Hi, City Council members. My name is Zoe, as I previously stated, and I live in Woodland Park, as I just previously stated. I'm also a senior at the Woodland Park High School, and I wanted a chance to express my feelings and concern about the issue of repealing this tax. I'm happy to hear that a lot of you have changed your minds and have reconsidered, but there's still, some concerns that I still have. I'm worried that the city tax, if it is repealed, we'd lose mass funding for our education. This impacts not only our students, like myself, but our educators and our staff. I don't want to see schools, any school in Woodland Park, let go of good educators who are passionate about teaching children. We need funding for our after-school programs, which include tutoring, our theater program, and our city programs. As John Locke once stated, when the governor, however entitled, makes not the law, but his will, the rule, his commands, and his action are not directed towards the preservation of properties of his people, but the satisfaction of his own ambition, revenge, covetousness, and any other irregular passion. As a legal voter, even though I may not look it, I want to know that my voice is heard by the council and is not disregarded. It seems to me that if the public voted 58% to keep the sales tax in support of our schools, then the public should be honored in that. Also, as someone who appreciates the study of history, I find myself somewhat bewildered with the disregard of the democratic process. I'd like to know, as elected officials, that you would honor the people's vote and not allowing seem biases and misinformation sway your decision. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, ma'am. Everyone would please hold your applause. It just takes up time. I know you're very emotional and excited, but it really would be appreciated.
Our next speaker is Donald Hoyne with Savannah Sikowski on deck.
My name is Donald Hoyne, a resident of Woodland Park for 10+ years. I'll start with, like many, I reviewed the IGA submission, and like most, it told me absolutely nothing. But years of experience working for the government, managing billions of dollars of contracts, I know that details are easy to hide in line items, but the bottom line, it's hard to hide the truth in the bottom line. So I set out to track the reserve fund balance across the years. Note all the numbers come from the Woodland Park School District website, so I'm not making anything up. FY23, we started with a balance of $11.7 million, ran a deficit that year of $3.5 million, ended up with an audited balance of $8.3 million. So mentally, you might want to keep these numbers in mind. FY24, we started oddly with a balance of $11 million in the approved budget, which didn't match the ending balance of 23. It wasn't until 6 months later, they revised the budget and corrected the apparent oversight, ran another deficit, left $6.1 million in the reserve fund. Once again, FY25, they again started with a balance that did not match the ending balance of the prior year, this time by $1.6 million. So once all is said and done, the balance keeps dropping and dropping and dropping. Now, they have not done a revised budget for this year. So we're a little bit flying blind, plus everything's unaudited from the prior year. But we did see in their monthly reports at the school board meeting, a $4.2 million completely unexplained increase in revenues. We don't know where that came from. Also showed an increase in expenditures, but that very closely matches the prior 2 years level. So that seems reasonable. So where does it leave us? If we take the most recent unofficial, unapproved, unaudited figures, I come up with a number of $9.5 million in the reserve balance. If I correct the apparent overestimate of the starting fund, excuse me, we're down to 6.1. Now, if I take out the totally unexplained increase in revenues in their unofficial reports, now we're down to $3.7 million. So what is it? What's the number? How much money do we have? Is it 9 million? Is it 6 million? Is it 3 million? I'll furthermore point out, if you look through their annual flow of money, the city and the county tax revenues come in very late in the year. So you dip down and then you get healthy right at the end, just you're crossing the finish line. So if that lower estimate is correct, they could be fluctuating very close to a zero general fund balance in roughly the May timeframe. I think it's also worth noting that in the December school board meeting, they voted to establish a line of credit for the school. Don't know why they would need a line of credit, but maybe the numbers help answer that question. So in that, as I sum up all of those numbers, a lot of numbers, all I can conclude is the school has apparently no grasp on basic accounting. They've repeatedly overestimated the figures, and they may well be in financial trouble. So I ask, do we want to keep subsidizing this inept leadership? Over.
Thank you.
The next speaker is Savannah Sikowski with Mary Sikowski on deck.
Welcome, Savannah.
Hi, Savannah.
Hi.
You can go ahead.
Okay. Hi, I'm Savannah Sikowski and I am a student in Woodland Park. I am here to talk about the sales tax for schools. If you take away the sales tax, we could lose amazing programs like music. Without music, kids wouldn't know about Mozart and how they wrote and how he wrote and played music while he was deaf. What about art with Van Gogh? He made the amazing Starry Night, and I know these things because of our programs. It's kind of hard. Some kids want to grow up and be welders, but if we don't have a program, it's kind of hard to start in. We could lose teacher funding, which will result in teachers losing their jobs. Please do not take away the sales tax from our schools and keep our opportunities open for students like me.
Thank you, Savannah.
The next speaker is Mary Sikowski and Nate Williams is on deck.
She wrote all that, y'all, just so you know. I'm really proud of her. Okay. I had to kind of change everything. So thank you for your comments before this.
Mary, would you give us your name?
Oh, yes, it's Mary Sikowski. I live in Woodland Park.
Thank you.
It's my understanding that when presenting a new ordinance, the whereas statements are a critical component to present a factual basis for that ordinance. Ordinance 1492 contains a whereas statement that's speaking to failing to meet the reporting obligations. And that's changed because there was a report. Now, if the issue is with the details of that report, that's an entirely different conversation. And if your intention was to revoke the sales tax because of your disagreement in the way the money is spent within that report, you should cite that in a different ordinance, but not now. Should you decide to vote in favor of this ordinance, despite its unfactual foundation, you're sending a clear message to the citizens of Woodland Park that you are not only unconcerned with being true and factual in local lawmaking, but you're working in direct bad faith in your dealings with stakeholders and other elected governing bodies in this community. From what I'm hearing from council this evening, you will be wise to set your personal agenda aside and take this for what it is and hopefully was, a knee-jerk reaction to something a few of you were angry about that has been cured and no longer a viable reason to even have this public hearing. Don't table it, kill it. And give the school district the year to fully establish and report on this new grant fund. These things take time, and I'm confident that given the appropriate time, the reporting will become seamless. Thank you.
Thank you.
The next speaker is Nate Williams and Nicole Wagner is on deck.
And I might go a little over time just because I also had public comment on items not on agenda. So I'm combining those.
No, you
Oh,
can't do that. I'm
okay.
sorry.
Well, then I'll talk real
You have
fast.
3 minutes.
Good evening, Madam Mayor and council members. I'm Reverend Nathan Williams, member, resident of Teller County. I'm a once and future educator. Contrary to popular belief, I'm not a liberal and I never voted for a Democrat. I'm a member of the no parties label. Google it. I'm a 5th generation Colorado native who has been coming to Woodland Park for 41 years and paying property taxes for 28 years. We're now in the midst of a trade war and an impending Trump session. We have 25% tariffs, which is a tax on computers, fresh produce, electronics, groceries, school supplies, clothing, sugar, meat, beer, and whiskey. The average new car in the U.S. costs $49,750. So a 2025 Chevy Silverado 1500 with a crew cab standard bed, 20-inch wheels and a 4-wheel drive made in Mexico will now cost $62,200. This 1.09% tax raises your sale tax on a new vehicle from $4,600 to $5,300. We now have an African-American white supremacist co-president destroying Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid, SNAP, and he's canceled $1 billion in contracts from the Department of Education. We also have a former TV reality host who's 6 times bankrupt, 34 times felon, 49% vote getter, and he's dismantling the Department of Education led by pro wrestling billionaire promoter Linda McMahon, who has no knowledge of even the most basic educational laws and policies. This department funds preschool readiness, grants for low-income students to attend college, school funding for disabled students, and enforces Title IX, which protects against sex discrimination, and Title VI, which offers race and national origin projections. 2/3 of Teller County voted for this dystopia. The real estate market here has surged just in time for property taxes to be reset to all-time highs, and citizen protests in Teller County only had a 14% success rate. 65% of those funds already go to our schools. Mortgage rates are now 7.5%. Real estate listings are up 40%. Days on the market have doubled, and withdrawals from the MLS listings have gone up 40%. Now this council has plenary legislative power via home rule municipality granted by the Colorado Constitution to delete this unnecessary tax burden. Sales taxes disproportionately harm lower income individuals by making everything more expensive for those who can barely afford life as it is. BuzzFeed, 20 million readers, put Woodland Park #3 on the creepiest towns in. Why? We could have significantly more property tax revenue, but we have nefarious forces in the form of a Christian nationalist non-biblical cult who doesn't pay taxes. They promised to pay taxes, and the city gave them an exemption in exchange for a $250,000 bribe. This is housing. This is a dormitory. It's not a parsonage. It's not a church. These are the same people behind the recall effort for this council, even though all 6 people and mayor lost. Those candidates lost to the current council. 80% of the Woodland Park School District is led by puppet master Ken Witt. They've wasted our tax dollars on defending lawsuits, including the superintendent trying to quash the First Amendment rights of staff and teachers. They also make it extremely difficult to get any information via Quora, and they've even been caught on camera holding backroom secret meetings off the record, which is illegal under the open meeting laws. Witt thinks that he answers to nobody, including the press, where he stormed off from an interview with NBC's Maggie Bryan by throwing his microphone on the ground like a child. In
Nate, I need you to
2015,
finish up, please.
okay.
Time is up.
Since Witt has been here, our enrollment has gone down 12%. We've gone from 2,100 students to 1,850 students. His pay package is $175,000, but he also gets education re-envisioned money of $170,000.
Nate, can you?
He
get to
makes
your point?
$1,000 less than the Denver superintendent with a district of 90,000 students.
Thank
Jeez,
you.
I
Thank
guess
you,
I'll be
Nate.
back tomorrow.
Thank you
have-
very much.
We
Yes.
have Nicole Wagner.
We need
and-
to reverse the exodus of students and their parents leaving the
someone
district
else is
and moving out of
overrunning.
town. And we need to keep this district under a microscope and hold their feet to the fire by holding them strictly accountable to IGA reporting. And for
Nate.
the love of God, give the teachers a raise.
Turning the microphone off. Thank you.
The next
Nicole.
speaker, thank you, Nicole, is Nicole Wagner with Gwen Peckron on deck.
Good evening again, everybody. My name is Nicole Wagner, Woodland Park. I had another comment ready to go, but after listening to all of your comments, I scrapped that one. So this one's kind of just jotted down. I want to just say thank you for listening to the people. I was not going to talk tonight about the sales tax at all, as I think that we can all agree that that topic has been discussed ad nauseum on both sides. We all have our opinions and it's not going to change. Instead, I was going to focus on our system of government and the value of the sanctity of our vote. What enraged me the most about this ordinance Even more than the threat to our schools was the apparent disregard for the voice of the people through their vote. If I'm being honest, I would stand before you and fight you on any issue, whether I agreed with that issue or not, if you tried to go against the vote of the people. That is what we have to do in this country in order to remain civically minded. We have to fight for the rights of the people we disagree with. I actually appreciate this council's continued focus on the accountability for the sales tax. I really do. It is vitally important that the community be confident in the use of these funds. We must restore faith in the system because we are currently an angry, highly reactive, divided community, especially over the schools. If we can all please remember that the kids are the most important thing in this conversation, period. Everything I do, everything I have done for the last almost 5 years since I became part of the Merit Academy founding group is for my children. Colton, Hunter, Logan, and Violet. They drive every decision I make. If we can keep them in our focus, we will not go wrong. Thank you for listening to the people and listening to their vote. Again, the vote is something people, millions and millions of people have died for through the centuries to ensure the right to a vote and for that vote to actually matter. So that is what I was going to talk to you all about tonight. So thank you for your words, thank you for your comments, and thank you for listening to the people.
Thank you.
Mayor, the next speaker is Gwen Peckron with Paul Saunier on deck.
Thank you for allowing this opportunity to speak. Gwen Peckron, Woodland Park. I have long believed that the will of the people is the cornerstone of our democratic process. When public servants are entrusted with the decisions of the people, they must uphold that trust. It is not a matter of personal judgment, nor is it subject to the whims of political convenience. The citizens of Woodland Park made their values known on many issues this past November. You are entrusted to support those values even if they contradict your own. In November, the voters spoke clearly. They spoke decisively. These were not suggestions, they were mandates. Yet the politicians of this council, in defiance of the people's voice, were ignoring those directives. The people voted to invest in the future of our children, to ensure they have the education and opportunities they deserve. By bringing this on council's agenda again, you disregarded the will of the people, the very voice you were so eager to hear from when you pushed it to the voters in November. I wager you were sorely disappointed by the will of the people after the election. You've chosen to prioritize bureaucracy, politics, and personal agenda over our children's future. Superintendents come and go, school boards come and go, councils come and go, but our children are here. Of course, this connects to another matter that demands our attention, a matter of integrity and transparency. We heard council claim that the district's 140-plus page sales tax report was non-compliant, a statement that is not only inaccurate, but a direct assault on the hard work and commitment of those who work tirelessly to ensure compliance and openness. That February 13th report, in fact, is compliant and transparent. It's ironic that Mr. Wiley spoke of the city's reporting issues with the state. It sounded eerily like this issue, except the city's report was 4 months late. Was there a $3.2 million fine for that? The citizens have spoke clearly, and the majority vote should not be disregarded. The 140-page report was compliant and transparent, and it should not be dismissed for the sake of political convenience. The call to action is for council to postpone indefinitely this order and listen to the majority of your constituents. The pattern of this council, however, is to fall back on your word and threaten with this ordinance time and again. What prevents this council from bringing this up within a month or 2 months or 4 months, simply because you don't like the superintendent or the school board or school choice or CDE's financial process? We need a city government that has a history of listening and standing for the community they serve, including the children. That has not been this council's history. City council is supposed to be guardians of people's trust. The damage is not just to the public's trust in council, it's to the very fabric of this community. We need a city government who leads with integrity, leads with honesty, leads by respecting the will of the people, by the people, and for the people. Thank you.
Thank you.
Do y'all have a council out in Dubai?
Terry, please. Next.
The next speaker is Paul Saunier with Erin O'Connell on deck.
Good evening, council and staff. Thank you for letting me come before you to speak. My name is Paul Saunier. I live in Woodland Park. I am a previous council member of the Woodland Park Council. And I know what it feels like to sit up there and listen and go through these processes. I encourage you to continue working together with the school board. And I assure you that you will find that they will cooperate, as you too have an obligation to cooperate with them. And I can see that will happen. I encourage you all not to take this personally, but to continue to work in good faith and to come to reasonable conclusions. It is very difficult what you're doing. I appreciate it, and I just came here tonight just to come and visit the room. I know what it's like to sit there for hours on edge and listen to all the different arguments from every side. And everyone that comes to this podium should be listened to with respect. But everyone that comes to this podium should also show their respect to the council. I wish you all the very best. And please, please, talk. I'm sure there's a lot of common ground that can be gained. And I appreciate the fact that this bill is going to be killed. So with that, have a good night.
Thank you,
And
Paul.
take it easy.
Thank you,
okay?
Paul.
And thank you.
The next speaker is Erin O'Connell with Bruce Coffrin on deck.
Hi, I'm Erin O'Connell, resident of Woodland Park. This is like a reunion for me. I haven't been out much in a year and a half, good and bad. Hi, all of you. Whew. All right, I know some of you probably aren't happy to see me here tonight. There's a lot of opinions out here. The real question is, are you doing your job? It is not what I think. It is not what they think. It is, are you doing your job? You are elected to represent the integrity of this community. Are you doing your job? I am a staunch advocate of accountability and transparency in small government. For those of you who don't know, just Google my name, you will find me. I fight for transparency. I fight for this community. I fight for our schools. I try to always be a bridge in our community. If you saw me before, you would think I would never talk to some of these people and that they would never talk back to me. But I sit down and I have coffee with the people across the line. I am very serious about finding solutions to problems, not covering things up, not winning, finding solutions. The fabric of any community is truth and collaboration, and as we know, we are fractured. I am concerned about the accountability of the school district to city council. They're doing the same thing to you as they have done to the district, to students, to the community as a whole. They have hid the facts. They use buzzwords to divide. They create factions. They completely disregard those who they represent and are accountable to. I talked to a couple people before the meeting about building bridges and reaching across the line. But we can only have accountability if there is truth and openness. I heard a comment the other night and it said, look for where the information is missing. Look for where it is disappearing from. Where it starts to go missing, that is where the lies are. So where is the information missing from? You'll hear lots of fear-mongering tonight. Lots of buzzwords. They're going to take away this program and that program. We don't know what we're going to lose because we don't know where the money is going. So don't listen to anyone saying, we're going to lose this program. We're going to lose sports. We're going to lose the arts. We're going to lose our teachers. We're already losing our teachers. If we don't know where the money is going, we don't know what we stand to lose. This council was elected to uphold the integrity of their positions and the will of the people. And in response to a couple comments out there about you need to uphold and keep the sales tax because that's what the community wanted, they wanted it with stipulations that the district is accountable. They didn't want to blindly give money to the district. They wanted to give money to our schools with accountability. I have students in this district. I don't want the money taken away, but it's not going to them right now. And until someone tells me where it's going, I will refuse to believe that they are getting it. So make sure you keep that in mind as you are accountable to this community, just like the district is accountable to you.
Thank you, Erin.
Thank you.
Next speaker is Bruce Coffin, and I don't see, is he here, Kip? They're online, okay. They signed up in person. They might have went home. Okay. Go ahead, Mr. Coffin. Jameson, you're on deck.
Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you very much. I'm new to this community. My family and I, we moved here in August and we're kind of a little bit in transition still. But we're in temporary housing in Woodland Park. My daughter's 13. She attends Merritt Academy. And this school tax issue has really affected my family. In fact, one of the reasons why we moved to temporary housing, we wanted to make sure that the school system here was well funded for my daughter because education is very important to me. Just a little bit about me. I'm a retired geoscientist. I spent 35 plus years with the largest oil company here in the US. I had a slightly above average career and I've been all over the world. I've lived in Moscow. I've lived in Norway, spent 6 months in Calgary, 4 months in Paris, 4 months in London. But all this came about because of education. It is so important for the children of our community. I came here to fight tonight, but I'm so happy that it sounds like now that what we want to do is heal the wounds in this community and work together. And I think what you'll find out that just as Major Ayers that we honored tonight was so successful coming out of this district, I think what you'll see with the programs that are being set up now in our school system, we'll have more kids that we're going to celebrate in the future here. I had the opportunity to go and visit the Science Olympiad class this week over at Merritt. I can't tell you how much I'm impressed with those high school students. They are going to be the next scientists and engineers in this community, in this state, and perhaps impacting the nation like Major Ayers. So what I want to say to you is thank you again for dropping this issue. And my vote would be for no vote, just like the rest of the council is. What a great community. Have a good night.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Jameson Dion, and Lou Ramon, you're on deck.
I'm Jameson Dion. I live in unincorporated Teller County. Like pretty much all the speakers tonight, my speech is not going to be used, so I'll be going off notes, so please bear with me. Just wanted to go over some history. On August 26th, this current council, after a ton of deliberation, taxpayer dollars for attorneys in here and attorneys elsewhere, you guys came to a new IGA with the school district. Shortly after that was signed, this council kicked the decision to the voters to keep that sales tax, and other speakers have spoken on that tonight, but it was 57% and change. I've got it written here, but you know what it is. So you had a mandate of the voters. And then January 31st was the first deadline for the school district to provide their financials. We all know what happened. Those were not provided. But the IGA that you signed, I assume in good faith, provided for a 30-day cure period. That wasn't observed before this council voted to further a resolution to kill the tax, which tells me that that was not negotiated in good faith, or the majority of this council didn't intend to actually abide by a contract that they negotiated and signed. On February 13th, the school district posted 140 pages of financials. Some of the council members tonight kind of alluded to this talking point, and some of the public comments have repeated a kind of tired and inaccurate statement about financial transparency. And it's apparent to me, the majority of the people that are using this talking point either haven't read the financials that are posted or don't know how to read them. So a couple of comments that were made, grant funding. I'm going off an email of size 2 font, so bear with me. But the way that the IGA was written is that we would implement grant accounting payroll. The specific language of that, though, was that the expenditures would be set up using a 4-digit designated grant project in the district's financial ERP system for revenues and expenditures, with the exception of payroll. That's not the same thing as grant funding. While grant funding accounting would involve both balance sheet and income statement accounts, during the IGA discussions, it was agreed to that the school district still had to be compliant with the Colorado Department of Education chart of account requirements. And as a result, the IGA was limited to only pertain to revenue and expenditure accounts. So it's worth noting. Also, with the grant reporting requirement, the school district used 67 different grant codes and maintained 14 fund balance accounts and 10 cash accounts. The funds were segregated per the IGA. They were compliant with the IGA. So as such, I just wanted to correct some of those inaccuracies that were floated. Now, some council members tonight have expressed, and I appreciate the positive change in dialogue from the dais. I think this is a good foot forward. But some of the council members have expressed that they still don't agree with the IGA. And it's important that we don't move the goalposts. That's one of the things that we've seen from this city council with when we go from IGA, it's a popular vote, to now, maybe we don't agree with the IGA that, all the terms that we agreed to previously, the goalposts keep moving. So that's part of the reason why you do see a recall effort. And if this council is going to move forward on a positive foot, I would just ask that you do that genuinely, that we don't have some change of pace two months from now when all of a sudden we decide, maybe we didn't like that agreement anyways.
Jameson,
Thank
can
you.
you
Yes,
finish
ma'am.
up, please? Thank you. I appreciate that.
Next speaker is Lou Ramon with Victor Labarrio on deck.
Hi, Lou Ramon. I live in Woodland Park. I haven't been here but half as long as Coach has. I'm a conservative. I respect and demand transparency in the city council and expect the city council to take care and make sure that my tax dollars, all of our tax dollars, are spent in the right way. I think you're capable of doing that. I think you've done an excellent job of that. The question that we have is, why have we had problems with transparency from the school board? And I don't understand that. I have worked with international programs, I've worked with government programs, and I don't understand why the accounting has to be so difficult in what is presented to you. To me, it says, as was brought out earlier, that people are inept at doing the job of accounting for how you budget a school district, a school board, and you guys are doing the right things and looking for it. I appreciate that. People are concerned about that you need to listen to what the people voted for. What I voted for was to have the tax continue to go to the school board. But along with that was it would be in compliance with the IGA that you guys negotiated. It bothers me that it is not. That's something to be considered come the next school board election. I appreciate what you guys are doing. I thank you for doing it. And I say, please continue to negotiate as well as you can. I'm going to take just a couple of minutes of time. And I don't see her here, but this is for Savannah. Savannah brought out some important things that the school district has to continue to do. I'm a big STEM guy. I help put people on the moon. But what's vitally important in a school district, and we have to see that it's continued, are those extracurricular things, the arts, the music. The most creative engineers and scientists that I have had the privilege of working with had a background in the arts. And we've got to make sure that our school district works that. And the school district has to be good enough to figure out how to fund that and how to keep the accountability in their accounts straight. My time is about up. Thank you for the opportunity to speak before you.
Thank you, sir.
Our next speaker is Victor Labarrio with Bridget Curran on deck. Okay, then Sean Maddox is on deck.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. My name is Victor Labarrio. I'm a resident of Woodland Park. I am changing what I wanted to discuss this evening, but I wanted to start out by thanking the council for doing away with the ordinance, hopefully indefinitely. I am in favor of accountability and transparency, as everybody else has. To me, the problem I have had is with the process. But I think when I looked at the details of the reports, both for Merit Academy as well as the traditional public schools, I found some pretty general categories. There were salaries, I'm generally speaking, salaries. There were the COP payments, certificates of participation. And there were 2 line items, one for fixing the roof leaks, and another for software that I know was in the district, that the district uses. So specifically to this tax funding, when people say we don't know where the monies are going, I don't understand that. Maybe I'm not a forensic auditor, but that's what I see. And I see that those go to the benefit of the children. So I'm puzzled by that comment. I would like also to acknowledge that going forward, I do hope that you do communicate and work together with the school board. Mayor Case, sorry to put you on the spot, but I wanted to acknowledge that you've left your biases aside and you have worked and sat down with the school district to present the requirements and to make sure that they abide by the conditions of the IGA. So I appreciate that and hope that that continues to go forward. Thank you.
I'm not sure I'm due that credit, but thank you.
So ma'am, Bridget Curran is on Zoom.
All right.
So we'll do Bridget, and then the next speaker is Sean Maddox. Is he still here? Oh, I'm sorry. I can't read the handwriting. I'm sorry. Okay. So we have Bridget. Go ahead. Is she on, Eric? You need to unmute, ma'am. Okay, well, let's keep moving, and when she gets that ready, we'll have you come up now.
Hi, my name is Sean Maddox. I'm from, I guess, unincorporated Woodland address, but not within city limits. So I had something different prepared, but I obviously have changed that. First of all, I would like to tell council that I appreciate how much they've listened to voters. Initially, when you have gone through this, what I kept hearing from you was that you were getting people writing you and emailing you and you were going with their will. And that is what your job is. Your job is to hear from the community and go through that. What I'm hearing now and what it keeps striking me is there was a moment, with Carl and Smitty that was like that quintessential beautiful moment in small towns. I grew up in a small town, smaller than this. And we moved to a small town again because I love that. I love the community and the feeling. And I see people here, I see, and I'm so bad with names, but the gentleman who always, Mr. Seifer, who always posts these amazing updates. But those are the moments that are the greatness of what a community can be. The moments that aren't the greatness are when I'm hearing a lot of people making assumptions. People are almost reading your minds. Like there's a lot of mind readers in town. It's kind of impressive. And they are putting a lot of words that we're not hearing from you into your mouths. And I think that's important to think about and consider. I don't know what you're thinking right now. I have absolutely no idea. I could kind of guess it by the way some of you are looking, but I don't know. So I'm not going to assume that because we know what happens when we assume. So I just find it interesting that I'm hearing so many people kind of tweaking what is being said or what they are feeling you are thinking in order to fit their own agenda. And that's really kind of disturbing. I'm also a little disturbed by hearing so many people discuss the will of the voters. It's kind of ironic when you have a lot of the same people that are talking about the sanctity of the vote and the will of the voters are the same people who are, some of them are suing the city currently, I know, regarding the STR issue. And some of the others are also part of the recall effort. So it's kind of like the will of the voters is important only when they agree with it. I personally think the will of the voters is there. But I applaud you for listening to voters and for taking that time and for putting up with a lot. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
Okay, we're gonna try Bridget again. Eric tells me. Bridget, are you there? Okay, and Trina will be on deck. Trina Hufflin.
Hi, my name is Bridget Curran, and I am a resident of Teller County. First, I'd like to thank Mayor and Council for their dedication to the city my family has called home since 1932. My children are fourth generation students to graduate from Woodland Park High School, and you'll have to excuse me for a moment. I'm doing a Walmart pickup. So, Bridget Curran. Yes, please. Multitasking mama. I'm here because, or I'm not here, but I am, as a concerned parent, like I have been for the past 2.5 years, calling attention to accountability and transparency to our district. And I want to say how impressed I am with your staff taking accountability, explaining their error, and apologizing in that error. Anyways, in regards to policy, EE in the district handbook, it's executive expectations. And the first rule is to establish and maintain effective links with the community and key communication to ensure that they are kept informed as the status of the district, including but not limited to sharing district news early, often, and thorough as many media as possible. Number 2 is to promote the district's dissemblance culture of goodwill, respect, excellence, and community. Number 3, strive to involve the community in early stages of any major change to school operations. Which brings me to the fact that there has been at least 3 meetings that the school district has met with you guys, talked about all the great things going on. And then the following day, on a Friday, parents receive an email about 6th grade moving to the elementary schools, Gateway closing, 7th and 8th grade going to the high school. So just financial transparency isn't the only thing that we want. It is a major concern with the IGA, obviously, but we need to make sure that we're keeping an eye on them in all aspects of it. Your department is financials. I appreciate you guys taking as much heat as you've gotten. It is really hard when it's pinned that we're trying to hurt the kids. Obviously, that's not the case. My kids are attending, but I definitely agree that their leadership should be held accountable. Table it for now, but keep an eye on them. Thank you.
Thank you, Bridget.
Our next speaker is Trina Hufflin with Mr. Tim Seeker on deck.
I am Trina Hoflang. I'm with Teller County. I've been here 12 years. And I too, mostly, as you know from my emails, support whatever you decide because you know way more about this than I do. My concern is the same thing that the lack of accountability, transparency of the board, the contrast of city council meeting compared to a school board meeting is wide. I wish the school board actually listened to us the way you all have appeared to be indecisive because you're listening to the will of the people. So thank you. My observation tonight, I'm a bridge builder. I'm a facilitator. I'm sitting next to Mr. Rusterholz and talking to him and asking him questions, and he's politely answering my questions. My concern is I have heard in the crowd about these people up on this dais tonight calling them liars under your breath and to each other. This is not the way to build bridges. Everybody on my side, and I am definitely wanting to hold the school board accountable, wants the school tax to continue. No one has ever said anything differently, except if that is what was necessary to hold the school board accountable. I am absolutely convinced, I have not got all of the proof, that there is malfeasance happening, at least with the attorney fees, if nothing else. And I think there's more than that. So please do what is right for our community, for healing, but don't let them off the dime. They've got to be in compliance with the IGA. That's the only reason they put this on the agenda, because how many months after months after months have they been asking for the exact same thing? So thank you. And thank you, school board, if you can possibly become a partner.
Thank you, ma'am.
Tim Seeker and Amanda Lockman on deck. Okay. Eric Lockman on deck. Go ahead, Mr. Seeker.
Howdy, my name is Tim Seeker, and I live here in Woodland Park, sorry. I am a graduate class of 1976 here, and for anybody who knows me, I love Woodland Park with everything that's in me. I love my schools, every one of them, and I love these kids, and I do everything in the world I can to support our kids, our schools, their activities, sports and non-sports alike. So I came here with the ideal to strongly stand by my school. And I must tell you that I am very proud of what I'm seeing tonight from you guys. I know one or two of you a couple of times, but I am also proud of the character that Woodland Park is showing right now. We have people here right now who will disagree with things, but you're showing class, you're showing character right now because you're doing this in a peaceful, respectful way. And you make me proud to be a member of Woodland Park. So I want to thank you all here. For these city council members, I salute you. I salute you for, first of all, as unlike a lot of people may say, I do believe that you truly love this community, and I believe that you're doing what you believe is right. And what I'm seeing here, that if you ever watch on the videos and stuff, you will see that city council members, city council meetings can be very vicious and hateful at times. I'm not seeing that here. I see some disagreements, but I do believe that you guys are doing what you believe is truly right for your community and for the schools. I mean, you come up here, you don't get paid a dime for what you're doing. You are contributing your time, and I salute that. Obviously, I guess that, you know, I support the tax for these kids. And I think what is so respectful is I think that some of you members have realized that maybe the idea of the tax is wrong, but I know that your heart was that you want to see some transparency. And I am willing to offer myself as possibly an in-between and a mediator between yourselves and the school board, because I myself, I have a few questions. I don't accuse anybody of anything, but I would like to have that opportunity because there needs to be something done. People need to speak, and that school board, and I want to give them the opportunity too. So I'm willing to be a mediator if you want me to be. But I just want to say that I'm very impressed with what I see today. And thank you, Woody Park. You've made me proud. You truly have.
Thank you, sir.
The next speaker is Eric Lockman with Rhonda Roberts on deck.
Hello, Council, Mayor. I'm Eric Lockman, City of Woodland Park. I had something prepared, but in the interest of time, I wanted to bring up something that no one's brought up tonight yet. This has been going on for a year, and we're at the finish line. I feel like we're bruised and battered, but we're limping over the finish line finally. And where have we come from? We came from an annual report that was a pie chart. That's where we started. And then we talked about monthly or about quarterly reports, and now we're at monthly. with a ledger, a general ledger. And I just want to let you know and let the people here know that we've come a long way from where we started a year ago. And so if this is about transparency and accountability, I would like to recognize that we came from a pie chart to 140 pages for the last 6 months and monthly reporting from here into the future. So we have made progress. We made a lot of progress. At the same time, I would suggest that you kill this ordinance rather than have it perceived as another threat or a continued threat. You can always bring up a new ordinance that has the correct whereases and bring it up as new business. I think that's an olive leaf that, olive branch that you can all bring tonight. So I just appreciate all of you bringing the heat level down a little bit so that you can think about the impact that the taxes would have on the schools. If we want further accountability, if you bring up accusations or doubt, there is no end to that. There's no end to that. You will always have something in the back of your head that says, well, there's something I'm missing. We need to put that aside. That happens at the board election. This is for the tax. So let it be about the tax. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mayor, our next speaker has passed, and so we are on to Mike Perini. No. No, they passed on speaking.
Carol, I think that means they're going to pass their opportunity to speak.
So it's Mike, the next speaker is Mike Perini, and then on deck is Catherine, and I'm hoping I'm saying this right, Dambrowski.
Thank you, and I have not passed, not yet, so. Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'm Michael Perini, a Woodland Park resident since 2002. I commend all of you for your public service. Our democracy thrives when elected officials engage with the community, seeking input like you're doing tonight. I hope there's something I can say tonight to help you collectively make the right decision for our students and teachers. I spent 30 years in the Air Force. I've been fortunate to travel the world. My wife and I planted our flag here. Our daughter and granddaughter, a Woodland Park Panther, now a college senior in a capstone program, also made the move. And we do have great schools, and I wanted to make sure that we shouted out for those two. For those non-citizens here or watching online, Woodland Park is a great community. Don't let this issue stop you from moving and opening a business. I know our Chamber of Commerce and fellow businesses and citizens are prepared to welcome you. I own an award-winning PR and marketing firm. Our team has successfully collaborated on projects endorsed by city council members over the years and cherished by the community. From the library to the hospital, from the aquatic center to the dog park, just to name a few. President Abraham Lincoln once said, "Public sentiment is everything. With public sentiment, nothing can fail, and without it, nothing can succeed." Look, I don't know what private conversations have taken place between the city and the district, but transparency and accountability in the public square are essential. Let's view tonight as a new opportunity, a moment for healing. Remember, our kids are watching and, as you saw, commenting. A majority of residents only 4 months ago voted to keep the funding because of benefits to kids and teachers. After the vote, we citizens expected the city and the district to develop a thorough process for accounting. It has not been smooth sailing for this round of reports, and I get that. Here are my grades to both sides from a public view. Council, your intent, which you expressed on our behalf, was accountability and transparency, A+. For the record, I support the school board and the district, but the initial effort from a public perspective to provide accounting, D-. In no way, though, should our kids and teachers be penalized. They should receive an A++ for patience and academic focus throughout this turmoil. The district did cure the situation within 30 days required by the IGA with a detailed ledger. Let's not forget this is the district's first report. The district accepted their medicine, offered a public apology, and parted ways with the CFO. They will do better in the future, work together, get it right. Finally, as I'm about out of time, I just want to say you all indicated earlier tonight you're likely going to vote to postpone the ordinance. And I agree with that, and I look forward to your vote based on your public comments. Thank you.
Thank you, Mike.
Is Catherine here? Is she online, Eric?
Wrong, Catherine.
Okay, so the next, let's wait for her, and we have Tony Perry with Nicole Broccoli on deck.
Tony Perry, Woodland Park, and good news is I've cut out about 40%. So, thanks to Mayor Case and council for commenting out loud your thoughtful perspectives. Please vote to kill the ordinance. We do not need to hold this over the community's head any longer. If the council votes this down, I would ask the group that is advocating recall to stand down as well. Let's start the healing. I believe the school district management and school board need to over-communicate and over-disclose at this point. Whether with cooperation from the school board or not, I intend to enlist some fellow community members and create a task force to assess and provide proactive, positive recommendations for the school board to consider. In the coming months, we should also identify people willing to step up and run for the school board with their only agenda item being what is best for the kids and the teachers. Although it's been glossed over, we need a real discussion in the community regarding school choice, public charter schools, and traditional public schools. Both sides of this issue can be right or wrong, depending on their motivations and whether they are really thinking about the kids and teachers. It is sad that Manitou sees this as an opening because of our disharmony. Have you noticed they've been advertising a lot to try to recruit our kids to Manitou? That's not an accident. They see an opening and we need to shut that door. By the way, I'm a product of the public and Department of Defense schools, which some would argue are worse than public. So take that for perspective. Also, I want to say, if you've been paying attention to the state capitol, you will know our state's in trouble. It's under financial pressure. We're $1 billion down. The CCI, which is the county commissioners, are in a scramble because, and I'm on quite a few nonprofit boards. I'm advising them it's time to turtle up. We better not count on those grants, possibly, or they're either going to be cut, eliminated, or slowed down. I think even the city acknowledged that they're waiting on a grant that they thought they would have had already. So we better be ready for that. And so what that really means is now is not the time to put pressure on our schools. We will do this task force. It will be proactive and positive. The gentleman who did the $1 billion budgets, he was skeptical, like, who are you? But I told him, call me if he wants to be on that task force. I suspect his accounting acumen is in a different realm, but he might be a good resource. So, let's focus on doing right by our kids and teachers. Now is the time for the rest of us adults to show up. And I will say, tonight it feels like we're being adults. So thank you.
Thank you.
So we have Nicole, and then we have Patricia Perry on deck.
Thank you. My name is Nicole Braucklin. I'm from Woodland Park. Where does the money go? What is it being spent on? That was a big question last year, and this council went back and forth for months, arguing about how to amend the IGA so that the community would finally know. And only towards the end of the negotiations, we finally realized that 90% of that sales tax goes to teacher salaries. A large part of the remaining 10% goes to the COP. So what we're talking about tonight is in fact less than 200,000, because everything else, we know where it goes. And no one in this room has said that they want to take away money from the teachers. We know how important they are for our community. We know their status that they had before we had this sales tax and why it was so important to have it and to use it to raise their salaries to something that's barely competitive. Today, this council is using the same issue that we don't know what the money is being spent on, and several of you have just mentioned that in an interview just a few weeks ago, again, to take away 11% of the school district's funding, despite the district submitting a full report. And guess what? It still shows the same. 90% goes to teacher salaries. We can argue about the rest, but what about those 90%? Just a few weeks ago, this council claimed that it had no idea what the money is being spent on. And so we couldn't say who was going to suffer, right, if we take it away. If 90% of the money goes to the teachers, that's who would have to make the big sacrifice for this council not being able to put this conflict and their personal agendas to rest. Councilmember Smith calls it comical. Our teachers' appreciation, comical. Our kids' future, comical. I call it tragic and outrageous. Councilmember Harvey said, damned be the voters, 2 meetings ago. Councilmember Geer has made it abundantly clear in his public statements that he only ran for city council to fight the school board and to take away funding from Merritt Academy, who he says should not receive public funding at all, being a charter school. As the vote in November has clearly shown, that is not the will of the people. But you're clearly not willing to represent the people, which is a blatant violation of your oath. President James Garfield once said, now more than ever before, the people are responsible for the character of their Congress. If that body be ignorant, reckless, and corrupt, it is because the people tolerate ignorance, recklessness, and corruption. Well, we don't tolerate it anymore. Our founding document says, governments are instituted among men, deriving their just powers from the consent of the governed, that whenever any form of government becomes destructive to these ends, it is the right of the people to alter or to abolish it and to institute new government. The governed do not consent. This community deserves better. Tonight, you've indicated that you want to put this resolution to rest. Respect is a given, and I do owe you respect for being willing to serve this community. Trust is earned, and you lost it. We'll be back here in 2 months, I'm sure of it.
Thank you.
We have Patricia Perry, and then we have Gail Garrick. Woo. I'm Dr. Patricia Perry. I've worked with children of special needs, different kinds of populations all around the world for over 42 years. And I've always been a child advocate and advocated with public schools because we work so closely with public schools, many of us do. I would like to thank the council for holding to their job, which is to hold people accountable. I have written and managed local, state, and federal multi-year grants, multi-purpose grants, and I never had any problem reporting, and you've never seen my math, and even I could do it. It's appalling that it has taken repeated requests at transparency, repeated outcry, you don't like the children or the teachers, and never on the other side, why can't you just do what we ask you to do because you're getting so much money? You're responsible for holding them accountable, and I really, really appreciate that. And I know there are a lot of feelings flying around. I mean, I am so glad that we have school choice and that we have that. I'm so glad that we have different things and programs in this community, but I also feel like you have to have transparency. And I know you've heard that word like 50 million times, but it's the truth. It's difficult. I mean, I looked over some budget items and some invoices, and even with my math, it was appalling. So I really appreciate you
having to go through all of this, being accused of being child haters and teacher haters and not being for public schools, when I know that you truly are. You do this out of your love for the community, and we have love for the community. I was educated in public schools, and I also voted for every single tax increase in my community in Alabama to have excellent public schools where we were. And we really reaped the benefits of that. But also our school boards and our schools were extremely accountable to us. It was explained all the time what programs were going and where the money went. So I really appreciate your due diligence. I hope you'll continue it, and I hope you'll be responsive. Thank you very much.
Thank you, ma'am.
Our next speaker is Gail Garrick with Logan Roots on deck.
Gail Garrick, I live in Woodland Park. First, I want to thank the council members for everything you do and everything you put up with, and for listening. You took an appropriate stance when Merritt Academy complied, but the Woodland Park School District did not with the finances for the IGA. But I'm not surprised to hear the people you heard tonight that were basically against you, who said they still do not believe why the 140-page document did not comply. Well, if you really look at it, and I'm not a student of it, but I've read some, the report clearly showed inconsistent account numbers, missing or ambiguous descriptions, date discrepancies, misallocations, and unexplained large expenditures. It's right there, and yet you heard so many people tonight say that that was a valid report. And then I had some other comments, but again, people have responded to it. I want to thank Diane Reed for bringing up some of the issues, but I really think we are here because of a group that came to Woodland Park. Attorney Brad Miller started on his agenda, I might say rampage. He reports in 2006. If you spend some time reading about Brad Miller and where he's done all over the state, and now the changes he's trying to do with education at a state level, you will understand what's happened to Woodland Park. Brad Miller knew Ken Witt. Ken Witt was brought here. Ken Witt was brought here to change our school district. And in that, the board changed, and so did transparency and everything about finance. A few years ago, you could read how much money went to attorneys. At one point, it was $19,000. After Ken Witt came, causing all of his disruption, there was a bill of $170,000 one year. But what happened after that? There was no line item for legal expenses. It is just pell-mell. It has been a snowball getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And these people, they talk to you about your political agenda. Pardon me? There is a political agenda with the school district and the school board. And once that's understood, you can see what's happening to our district. Everyone appreciates charter schools. They shouldn't have more say. So look at this item and learn more about it. Thank you.
Thank you, Gail.
Our next speaker is Logan Roots with Denise Ackert on deck. Okay, not Denise. How about Deb Zach on deck? Okay, maybe it's just you, Logan.
You can start by your name, and you can start by giving us your name and city of residence.
Everybody knows who I am. I've been in the news numerous times. I sued the district with the ACLU because the district was breaking laws. The district continues to break laws, and propaganda works. We have been shown that tonight. While we were out here prepared to voice our minds to you guys, you told us you have already made up your mind. What is the point of public comment if you guys have already come to the conclusion that you guys are going to be voting on? It is pointless. I am here because that I should be voicing my concerns to make you guys see my point. But right now, it is pointless for me to be here. Do you guys understand that? You guys told me how you are already voting. I am incredibly disappointed. There are a lot of things from my story that I haven't shared publicly. And there's a reason for that. It's because that I have enough knives in my back that I don't need more. The district that I grew up in put the largest knife in my back. After I approached them, I approached the 3 directors with concerns about what was happening, about what I was seeing in emails. And you know what I was told? There's nothing we can do. So I approached the board about it. 3 days later, I lost my job. No, actually, I don't. See, the difference is that I am elected. I am not sitting here cussing or calling people names like the other side does. See, the problem is that the propaganda has worked. We have seen it for the last 8 years. When this shit show has been elected, we're heading downhill. The world is heading downhill. We're heading towards World War III. And while accountability should be the utmost importance, yet again, it doesn't matter. It does not matter when people don't hold other people accountable. Boy, I am very, very saddened to say I had plans to stay here in Woodland Park, but
Thank you, sir. Your time is up. I appreciate you. Suzanne, do we have further?
devastating,
comment?
absolutely devastating.
No, ma'am, I have nobody else signed up.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else in the audience that would like to address the council on this item? Yes, Carl.
Actually thought I did sign up, but maybe it was earlier. Smitty, I didn't realize we had a moment earlier. I apologize. I'll give you a hug later. On a serious note, though, we do know there's been mistakes made on both sides. This issue has not gone seamlessly, and we need to work on both sides of it. And the school district does need to be transparent, and the council needs to be patient and work with them and do the best we can that we can both understand the documents that need to be provided. And I would appreciate that patience. And listening to your comments earlier, I believe your decision to kill this ordinance at this time is the right decision. I think it'll help bring a little bit of healing to the community, bring us together, and if we can at least all sit down and have a cup of coffee and figure this out together, I think that'd be a big step forward. I'd like to say I do know Chairman Bates of the school board. I also know Director Wiley with the city, both men of integrity. And they work hard for our community. For decades, they've worked hard for our community. And the issues that were brought before us by both of them that have happened, small stumbling block in great careers here and good, honest, hard work. And I think that needs to be recognized. I think as we go forward, We need to do a better job of putting our personal feelings aside and work towards problem solving. And I think if we can do that, I think we'll just be a better community all around. I appreciate you all tonight. I appreciate what you've done and allowing us this opportunity to still give comment on this matter. And I do actually appreciate you sharing with us your feelings of how you were going to vote before this, because obviously it changed a lot of people's testimony here tonight, and I think brought it to a quicker conclusion. So thank you very much for your service, and I appreciate y'all.
Thank you. Anyone else? All right, then I'm going to close the public comment portion of this public hearing. And I'd like to just share one more thing. I did read earlier that a postponement indefinitely and the effect of that, but I'd also like to just reiterate a successful motion to continue or postpone indefinitely will effectively remove the item from the agenda and also direct that the item will not be rescheduled for later consideration. So just wanted to reiterate that point. And so, council, I will be looking to you all for a motion.
Well, can I make a comment first?
No, I mean, yes.
So I just wanted to say one more time, my thought process, and to say I have never had a personal or any agenda to punish the school district. I've listened respectfully to everyone who has come and spoken to this council. I have read your emails, taken your phone calls, and considered your points of view. That is always my approach. Tonight is no different. I did listen and hear and will consider your concerns and will attempt, as I always do, to make the best decision for all of us. Thanks.
Thank you, Catherine. Anyone else have any final thoughts? All right, thank you. I'll look for a motion, please. And it doesn't have to be the motion I just described. I don't want anyone to think that we have predetermined this, but I did want to give you all the benefit of hearing the council's comments, because the proper process is that the comments are not made once the motion is taken unless there's further discussion, and before their vote, they will not be commenting because they've already shared their comment. Council? Yes, Carol.
Forgot what I was gonna say now. No, I'm
Sorry, I didn't
I'm-
mean to-
No, seriously. I was sensitive to what Mr. Ruth did say, is that, you know, we telegraphed what our feelings were before we heard public comment, but we still wanted to hear that public comment. All of us have received input from numerous sides of this particular issue before tonight. And I think that that's what that 2-week period is between posting an ordinance and hearing the ordinance. And that being said, I would like to make a motion to postpone indefinitely ordinance number 1492, an ordinance of the City Council of Woodland Park, Colorado, repealing the proportion of the city sales tax that supports the school district, thereby reducing the city sales tax by 1.09%.
Thank you.
Second.
Thank you. We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion, council? Suzanne?
Thank you. Harvey?
Oh, I didn't realize I would be first. Yes.
Jones?
Yes.
Smith?
Yes.
Case?
Yes.
Nakai?
Yes.
Baldwin?
Yes.
Gear?
Yes.
Thank you. Motion carries unanimously.
I'd like to thank everyone. I'd like to thank everyone for your public comments, and that I really appreciate your respectful addressment of the council. That's not even a word, but your addressing of the council and how positive and professional it was. And council, I'd like to thank you all as well for keeping your comments at a professional level as well. So that takes us to item 10, new business. We have none. And item 11, reports. As the mayor's report, I'd like to just share 2 community events for March 6th through March 20th, 2025. Friday, March 14th from 5:30 to 9 at the Cheyenne Mountain Resort is the Woodland Park Chamber Annual Dinner, featuring an amazing silent auction, mirror wall reflections photo booth, and more. Reservations are required by May 10th, 2025, and there's plenty of tickets left. Check out the Chamber's website for tickets and information. And Saturday, March 15th from 11:45 to 12:45 is the St. Patrick's Day Parade, starting at Memorial Park and ending at Panther Way. And I have the honor of serving as the, what are they called? Grand Marshal. Grand Marshal. Thank you.
Head leprechaun.
So I look forward to seeing all of you there. Catherine.
Let's see, I have the UAC meeting, is next Tuesday, 3/11 at 4 PM, here in council chambers, or I'm sorry, upstairs. And then charter review next Wednesday, 3/12, from 2:30 to 4:30, somewhere in the building also.
Somewhere in the building. It'll be
Well,
this building.
Okay, so is Citizens Academy over?
I think we can have it in
So we can
council
have it,
chambers.
which is why it's somewhere in the building
Correct.
until Citizens
You are
Academy is
correct,
over.
ma'am.
So
Yes.
that, yes, okay.
Terry.
I have nothing.
Thank you. Jeff?
Just a couple of quick updates from Parks and Rec. First off, Intro to Clay hand building is March 11th through April 3rd from 3 to 4:30 p.m. You must be 17 years or older to attend. Creative Explorer Spring Art Camp is March 24th through March 28th. This is for children 4 to 6 years old from 9 to 11:30 a.m. And then the 7 to 11 years old, that was brutally butchered, is 12:30 to 3 p.m. Spring Coloring Contest is March 17th through April 17th. Coloring pages available online or at the Parks and Recreation office, which you'll find on the back side of this building. Youth baseball and adult softball, the registration is open. Red Cross Babysitter Boot Camp will be March 27th from 8 a.m. to 4:30 p.m. for ages 11 to 17 years old. And finally, the Red Cross Lifeguarding Course is March 24th through March 28th from 8 a.m. to 4:30 p.m. for people 15 years and older. And that is all I have.
Thank you, Jeff. Carol?
There will be a Keep Woodland Park Beautiful meeting next Thursday at 5 PM somewhere in the building, but I think it's gonna be it will be in the upstairs conference room, I'm pretty sure. Correct. Thank you.
Thank you. George?
Yeah, so DDA did not meet Tuesday due to the storm, I imagine.
The storm that wasn't?
That kind of was. Yeah, but it was, we get up early for that meeting, so.
Yes, you do.
Yeah. But I am excited about the grant program coming into play, and as Aaron mentioned, so that just to confirm, Aaron, that's going to be in May then when we're going to try to start that. Yeah. So people have asked, businesses, folks have reached out. Please continue to do so. This is going to be a fun little program, I think.
Excellent. Thank you. Smitty?
Yeah, I was asked to make mention of the suicide prevention, what's that word? Symposium, that's it, which is tomorrow from 8:30 to 3 p.m. at 800 Valley View Drive. So, I think it'd be pretty, I'm gonna go.
Is that the community church?
No, I'm not positive because it's
bet
like
it is.
4 houses down from where I live.
Oh, never
But I
mind.
was asked to make, mention of that. And Carl, you took my steam out. But again, acknowledgement of a student of ours in our community on March 12th will be going to space. So
Nice.
whatever we can do in the future, to acknowledge Nicole and her achievements, she was one of my kids. And that's what it's about.
Excellent. It's a great story. Thank you, Smitty. City Attorney?
I have a 30-minute presentation on the new state rules concerning land application of sewage sludge. Maybe we can let that go till later.
I appreciate that, Jim. Well, we'll postpone that indefinitely. Aaron?
Thank you. We have some exciting but possibly painstaking news for the community. We have Highway 67. Many of you who live on Highway 67 may have received this postcard in the mail. CDOT will begin widening and making safety and traffic flow improvements to a section of Colorado Highway 67 in Woodland Park. The goal of the project is to improve capacity, safety, and mobility, support increased tourist traffic, and modal demands. Capital Paving and Construction is the prime contractor for the project. The primary scope of the work includes widening Highway 67 from County Road, Evergreen Heights Drive to West Kelly's Road, from 2 lanes to 4 lanes with a shared middle turn lane. Other work includes building raised medians near major intersections, installing new pedestrian facilities, adding signal heads to West Kelly's Road, and making drainage improvements. And this work begins on March 10th. So it's exciting, but bear with them as they do this work. It's going to be an awesome improvement, but it's going to take a little while. And then later on this summer, they are going to mill and overlay from 24 up to Evergreen Heights. So a lot of improvements to that road we're looking forward to. That's it.
All good news. Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for being here. This meeting's adjourned.